Hi, I'm Alan and welcome to
Prayers to the Dice Gods.
Today we're talking about getting started with Warhammer 40,000. So you've been into one of the Games Workshop stores, you've seen the array of models that they've got on display, you've spoken to one of the overly enthusiastic staff members, you're all hyped up and excited about the possibilities, and you're already working out how many of these beautiful models you want to buy. And let's be honest, it's probably all of them. So the guys in the shop will tell you just to pick the models you like the look of and off you go.
No, 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 no.
This will actually cause you particular problems, especially if you're working to a budget. To start your journey into Warhammer 40,000, get yourself the rulebook. At this point the actual rules won't help you, but they're worth having a read. What you need to do is jump to page 242, start looking at the command points and detachments and how they can help you in defeating your opponent. Command points are used to give boosts to your army during the battle. The first one you'll see on page 242 is the command reroll. This is the most popular use of a command point. Each of your factions have their own army specific stratagems to use your command points on, which you'll find in each of the codexes. On page 243 you'll find the start of the detachment. On the right hand side of the box you'll notice restrictions and command benefits. Command points are what we're actually looking at first. This tells you how many command points you'll get for taking this detachment. On the left of the box it tells you the minimum and maximum of each of the slots you can have, which are broken down into troop choices, HQ, fast attack, that kind of thing. Competitive games are usually played at 2,000 points and usually consist of a battalion detachment and one other detachment. I personally run 2 battalion detachments in my Death Guard army. This means that I require 4 HQ choices, so 4 characters of some sort, 6 troop choices. This gives me plenty of command points to use during any of the battles I play. So your second purchase will actually be the codex for the faction that you've chosen. This one is the Necron Codex, and like all of the codexes, once you get through the fun stories and the background of your chosen faction, you'll make it into the army section. Now this is broken down into HQ choices, troop choices, elites, fast attack, heavy support, dedicated transports, flyers and Lord of War. You'll notice that the points values are actually at the back of the book, and each entry will tell you what equipment each unit can have. So now you have an idea of what you can have in your faction and what detachments and command points you can use. Now we can look at some of the army starter sets for some of the factions. These come in really handy and can save you a little bit of money, and they're really easy to build upon. I know that if I buy the Necron Start Collecting box I would only need 2 more troop choices and I'll have my first battalion detachment. I know how good the Doom Scythes can be, so I would want to add 3 of them, as they have a special ability that works when you have 3 of them on the board. I would also look to get myself some of the Tomb Blades. They have some speed and they're very good for manoeuvring opponents off of objectives. Now what could make my army better? Necron Destroyers are a must. They're fast, they have heavy weapons. They're a great idea since most boards have line of sight blocking terrain. No Necron army would be complete without an obelisk. It's great for drawing fire and can dish out some damage. And now I have the basis for an army that I can get along with. It's tactically flexible and has plenty of firepower. Looking at the Space Marine Start Collecting box set, I would actually buy 2 of these and an additional troop choice. That gives me my battalion detachment, not to mention the additional firepower and armour of having 2 dreadnoughts. I personally prefer the shock tactics of the Space Marines, so I'd like to leave half the army in reserve. So what I'm going to be looking at is drop pods, teleporting troops and jump troops. These can all sit in reserve and come in when I'm ready and at a spot on the board that I'm going to find tactically useful. Don't forget you'll need tools, paints and paintbrushes. What you'll actually need is a pair of clippers. You need to make sure these are the right kind. They should have one perfectly flat edge, or you'll find yourself trying to cut these off with a knife, which I can tell you is one of the least enjoyable things in the world and will make building your models take 10 times longer than it should. You will find if they don't have a flat edge on one side, when it comes to actually cutting your models out, it will leave pieces of the sprue attached to the model still. This is very undesirable and can increase the amount of time and effort required to build a model. Not to mention, it suddenly becomes quite unsafe when you're having to apply quite a bit of pressure to get some of these sprue parts off. You'll need a knife or a scraping tool to take off the mould lines. This can also be done with a file and some sandpaper. Though what you actually want your knife for is to help you remove the mould lines. Now you can do this with a scraping tool, or you can do it with a file or a piece of sandpaper. And you don't have to have all of these, because just a scalpel blade will do the job, or at a push, even just a Stanley knife. Now most of the Games Workshop models are currently made of plastic. So what you're going to need is some sort of plastic glue. Now you will find that some of these are actually made of resin still. They are very few and far between these days, but you may need some super glue, though this won't be essential to start with. You're going to need some sort of primer. The Games Workshop primers are fairly good. They come in a nice array of colours, which will make choosing and painting your models a lot easier. To the paintbrushes. Now you'll need 3 brushes to start with, which you can then build upon. Firstly, you're going to want the small brush, then you're going to want a medium brush, and finally you would like a flat topped dry brush. And that is everything you need to get started. Don't forget to subscribe and click on the bell icon so that you get all of the notifications as and when the new videos are released.
The Dice Gods favour the painted army.